Hi, friends. Welcome back to today's episode of the Life with Loverly podcast. I have my mom in the studio today, and I'm so excited. Hi, Mom. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. We're fresh off of your birthday weekend,
Yes.
Mother's Day. I feel like the start of May, which is just the month of insanity and kind of always has been in our house.
Yes.
But I feel like now it's for different reasons. Just so when I was growing up, my dad was the women's tennis coach at the University of Georgia, and May was always their like NCAA month. But it's my mom's birthday, Mother's Day, my brother's birthday. I feel like so many times it was just like May is the craziest month ever.
It really is. It really was. But it was exciting. There was a lot of great things going on.
Yeah.
So it was always fun.
Well, and how crazy is it that Collins is graduating kindergarten this week?
I know. I cannot believe it.
I feel
She's
like she
this
just
grown up.
Well, it's actually really funny that we're doing this podcast episode today or like for this week, because I remember when she was starting kindergarten that week, I'm pretty sure you sat down and that was the last time you recorded with me, because we were talking about like beginning of school year and going to school. And now it's kind of crazy that here you are back in the studio just at the end of the school year.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I know. So today we are going to kind of go through a few themes of this episode. We're going to talk about routines, staying active, positive mindset, friendship, and fulfillment. So I'm going to do this a little bit like a Q&A style. And then at the end of the episode, we'll kind of go back and forth and like answer some questions, but it'll be really conversational. The listeners and my followers always love hearing your advice and just knowing what it is that you are doing as a lady in your 60s. And so I just figured it would be a great time to chat.
Well, let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to start out with routines and how they've evolved. What would you say your typical day looks like now?
Well, I would say that it's pretty relaxed, which is really nice. We just get up in the morning, coffee, devotion time. I just kind of just chill, and Dad and I get together and talk about what our day looks like. And so it's pretty relaxed. And then we figure out what we're doing in our day, and we usually work out first, and then just get our day started, or figure out when we're going to work out through the day. Because sometimes we may go golf, or we may have pickleball or something. So,
and like, because you've been retired for like 10 plus years at this point. And I feel like your routine was a little bit more kind of specific to you. And Dad has just been retired for like almost 2 years now. And so how has that shifted, having like him home, and y'all both being retired, and now it's not just like your morning routine, it's like his and yours.
Correct. Exactly. And I feel like it's going really well. What we do usually is we have an office together in the front room, and we actually face each other like we are now. And that was really good. A lot more when he wasn't retired. We would sit there because we didn't see each other a whole lot. So then when he was home and had some things to do, I would sit across and we would chat and talk and whatever. Now in the mornings, that's where Dad goes to sit, but I don't go there because I
kind of think my own time.
Yes. So I think it's important for us to have our own time. And so I just go into the kitchen by the fire. I just usually sit there and do my devotion, have my coffee, just kind of relax. And Dad does the same thing over in his office, or our office. And then we'll get up and we'll get over there. I'll go over there and I'll sit down. And that's when we're like, okay, let's
figure out our plan.
Yeah, is this what we're doing today? Or, because we usually kind of know what we're doing, but, we'll just talk about it. So.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you've always been kind of a morning person. Obviously now you don't have to like wake up at a certain time and which is nice.
Yes.
But, like, thinking back to when I was younger and when I was growing up, did you have a specific routine that or, like, something that you did before we woke up?
Absolutely. I used to set my alarm for 4:30 in the
Gosh.
morning because I knew that I needed to get up and I needed to have some me time.
Yeah.
Because that's, when I was teaching and everything. So I'd have that bit of time, do my devotion, coffee. Then I would try to go through my emails, my school emails for the
Mhm.
most part, just to make sure that I didn't have anything from a parent or something that I needed to take care of before I got to school. I did not like to do that at school.
Yeah. It's, like,
Because
so easy to get distracted, I'm sure.
absolutely, absolutely. When you're teaching with all different kids coming up with things that they need, so I just needed that to be done so that I could get to school and just cater to them when they
Yeah.
needed. So
So how did you balance it all back then? Because, like, I try to set an alarm for, like, early and I'm like, "Snooze, snooze," and then I,
mhm.
like, will rush around with the kids,
Right, right,
you
right.
know?
I did that too early on, but I learned that by taking more time to have that time for myself before you guys woke up.
Mhm.
That when you did wake up and you came in, I was just more relaxed. I was more prepared to handle whatever it was that you
Yeah.
needed, versus us all going crazy at the same time or something, trying to get out the door, which that happened too,
Right.
Um, but I aimed for trying to get that early routine in. And it was hard, but that was just something I knew I needed to do because we were so busy. Our lives were busy. And so I think it's really important as a mom to make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you can be the person and the mom that you need to be for your family and your kids. And you'll know when you're not
Yeah.
because things will start going crazy a bit and you'll have to go,
Take
set
a step
yourself a
back.
goal and take a step back and say, how can we make this better?
Yeah.
So
So would you say are there any goals that you try to achieve each day, like certain amount of water, steps, or, like, anything like that?
Yes, I do. And I I definitely try to get my water and Dad is so good about drinking
Yeah.
water. He loves to make sure that he gets the amount of water. So I'm watching him and going, okay, like I see his water jug going down and I'm like, okay, how much have I had today? So
Yeah.
I'm like making sure it's very important that you drink water for so many reasons, but just staying hydrated. And so I watch him and then he's a creature of habit, Dad is very much so. And one of the things that he's been doing since he retired is he is like, I'm working out. I've got to do this. And he does, the same thing, but maybe a different routine when he's doing his workout upstairs. But it's the same, like he's going up there and doing it and blah, blah, blah. So it kind of helps me to, stay in step with, okay, I got to get my workout done today.
Yeah.
Whereas before, when he wasn't retired, I was trying to do that myself as well. But I would be like, oh, do I really feel like doing that today? Or I'm going to go do this instead or this,
Yeah.
So I feel like since he's been retired, I've been more, I've been
Kinda, like, doing the same. Or, like,
exactly
you're like, "Okay, this is the time.
right.
Like, we're gonna do that."
Exactly. So, and if I don't get it in earlier because something else, then I'm trying to figure out, okay, I got to get this in before dinner.
Yeah.
So I'll go, for a walk or whatever. But yeah.
Um, is there something about my current lifestyle that reminds you of yourself?
Absolutely. Right. It's so funny because I'll sit back and I'll watch you. I love watching you like go through your day. And then when I'm over there or with the kids, or if we're at the beach together or something, watching you have to go through your day and get the things done that you need to get done. And I giggle inside because I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh. And I'm going, did I not take enough breaks or was I like too busy? Because I'm thinking that's what you watched. Like you saw busyness.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly going, maybe I was too busy. Maybe I didn't take, enough time or whatever. But But so I do kind of laugh about that because I remember being like that when I was teaching, and then I was coaching, and your dad's out of town, and we have sports things to get to and all this other stuff. And so, and then tennis matches to be at. And so it was kind of crazy. But so I look at that sometimes and just laugh.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes too. I'm like, but it probably prepared me to like be able to handle just like a lot of like balls in the air at the same time.
Well, absolutely. And I watched my mom and dad, you know, because we owned businesses growing up, and so they were both really driven, and both were like in their business. My dad had a store, and across the street from my dad's market was my mom's store. And so I saw them, you know, just trying to figure out that whole thing and keep our schedules going, and everybody getting home and everybody having their little jobs. Like, you know, I had to have the potatoes peeled and in the pot, and you know, just the vegetables on the pot, but nothing to turn on. I just had, that was like my job, but we all had to just kind of do our thing. So I kind of looked at that when you guys were growing up, and I was like, my mom and dad did this. I can do it too. Like, you know, so it gave me courage and hope to just kind of keep moving forward when even at times it felt like I was going crazy.
Right.
You know, I was like, Mom and Dad did it. I can do it. I got this. Let's go.
You're like, okay, there's somebody before me did this, and it's fine.
Right. So.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about friendships and social priorities. Who are some of your closest friends in your 30s, and how did you stay connected?
Well, my cousin, Suzanne, you know, we brought you guys up together. She had the 3 boys, and then I had you and Jared. And so we were always together, you know, we did things together all the time. So I was very close with her. And then our other friends, you know, like Alan and Joanne and Jennifer and Tom Foster, like all of those people, we did stuff together with before we were married. And then we all started having babies, and we still would get together. We would have play dates, and we would just get together, and birthday parties. I think the birthday parties were more for the adults than they were for the kids, really, because it was like we were together. So it was fun. I feel like it changed when everybody started getting into their different schools and then their different sports, because you were so busy kind of going in a different direction. So it was harder to get together. And we stayed in contact, but it was just harder to get together as we you know, got busier and busier.
Well, I always think too, I mean, there were certain times I just felt like seasons where like you were just so busy, and or like when we were doing something that would be like friend time, it was like you were with dad or catching up with him. But like when I was younger, there were other times like you had like the Christian Women's Club that you did, and then like, I don't know, but then different seasons were like different times and like levels of friendship that you could pour into, just because your bandwidth was only so much.
Exactly. And you know, in the summertime, we spent a lot of time at the lake. And we had that group of friends up there who we were very close to. And so those were the people that, you know, that surrounded us and that we were just able to spend a lot of time with.
Totally.
So,
do you feel like it was hard to maintain friendships while you were raising a family? You know, like obviously just like the different times, like people going to different schools, different sports and stuff. Did you ever feel like that was hard?
Yeah, it did. You know, because I thought about it at times when we weren't able to be with other people. Like I'm thinking about like for Alan and Joanne, you know, we couldn't always, because we were starting to do things very separately. So then, you know, you miss those people and you're trying to figure out how can we get together. And so it was harder to do that, but we just tried to do, you know, give a call. For us, it was calling somebody on the phone. It wasn't like text. How you doing? Just, you know,
it
you
was, had to like
actually pick up the phone and call them. Some of those people are now, because all the kids have gone through school. Now everybody's kind of on their own and stuff. And so it's fun because we're getting back together with those people, which is so fun. We're just like, it's almost like before we had the kids. It's like, we're free again.
I can totally tell that it feels like y'all are back together with like your old friends, and then you have like even more friends. How would you say, like, if you were giving advice to somebody who was like in their 60s, retired, was like, I just want to know how to like meet new friends, what advice would you give?
Right. Well, I think for us, we joined Athens Country Club. When Dad retired, we didn't do that earlier because we had the lake house and we were always up at the lake. So that kind of was our escape and getaway. So that really helped, like joining the country club, because we met so many people that have been in Athens all the years that we were, but we just had never crossed paths. So that's been fun to do that. And I would say that, and then church. It's always great to meet new people at church. And so.
Well, and you're so active still, so like, I feel like you get together and go play pickleball, and then next thing you know, it's like you're meeting all these ladies who are also in the same, like, just path of life, and they're like, let's keep this up, and you get to know them from that, and it's like just easy friendships are built.
Pickleball has really brought a lot of people together, because it is such a great sport that it really doesn't matter your age or your your level a lot of times. You can start out, you can play with different levels, and then you can continue to develop into a higher level or just stay where you are. But there's a lot of people playing pickleball. So that's a lot of fun.
Great way to stay active. What advice would you give me about choosing the right people to keep close?
Well, I think it would be being close to people that you feel like you have stuff in common with, people who are, I think, honest with you, who will tell you things that you need to hear, but maybe things that you don't need to hear as well. People that have the same values as you.
I think it's so important too, just like people who want to like raise their kids in like a similar way. Because I think that's something I've just even found as I've gotten older, and as we've like gotten like our friend group, and there's friends that are outside of that group, but just the way that people parent, and it can become like hard to be around certain people who parent completely different, because then it's like, okay, well, and not anything against anybody who does that, but I guess to really pick like who you're going to spend a lot of time with and like super close, it's like there has to be an alignment there.
I think so too. And I think that, I think as a mom that is just around other moms too, you got to give grace to your friends, because they're going to handle things differently than you might.
Totally.
And when you are around situations like that, I think that, and we were too, just growing up, but I think that, you then have to communicate with your kids, maybe after the situation, how should we how do you think we should handle this when this kind of thing happens? Maybe making it in a whole different example.
Like, what do we do?
But what do we do if, just kind of making it so that they can pick up on and remember your values and your rules and your, the things that you want them to do. And just because they're around somebody else that maybe isn't doing that you still have to try to remember that this is the way that we like to go do it.
Do you think that women today put more or less pressure on their social lives than your generation did?
Yes. I think that women today do put more pressure on their social life. And because I see people, it seems like I see people trying to get together and do things together. And I think that's great. But I think that your number one goal needs to be making sure that you're taking care of your family.
Yeah.
If you see that your family's having a tough week, or the kids aren't, somebody's sick or this or that, then, you know, I think as a parent, you just have to maybe pull back on that week and just say, we can't show up, or we can't do this, or, you know, I think that, but I feel like, small groups have really helped people get together. I think those are really important too. You know, I just think that each parent has to just make sure that they're taking care of their family too, and not getting too busy doing.
'Cause I feel like it's so easy to just, oh, let's do this with them, and then this with them, and this with them, and then it's like, oh, we haven't had like sit down together family meal in a week because we've been, you know, going crazy or whatever. I definitely feel like I'm like constantly getting together with my girlfriends for like going to dinner or something. And I don't remember at like this, or maybe, I don't know, maybe when I was in elementary school, I just feel like I don't remember
me doing
you
that.
always doing that.
I really couldn't.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. So, because your dad was away.
I actually remember one time you were gone, and it was like more of like dad's babysitting us instead of like dad's our father.
Right.
Just because he traveled all the time.
Yes.
And I remember we like walked outside to like let the dog out or something, and there was like a raccoon or some like thing on, or
was it an armadillo or a possum or something?
It was not a raccoon, but it was like
it was on the back
animal like that. And he's like, get the encyclopedia. Like this was literally before the internet. Like we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
And he's like, get the encyclopedia. Like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
And Jared and I are like, you know, so young, and we're just like, what? Like, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to teach you how to find something in an encyclopedia. And I just remember being like, it's mom coming home. Like, what is happening?
I would just shoot it off with a broom or something.
Right? But it's just funny because whereas I feel like all the time we're, like every 2 times a month, it's like going to girls' dinner.
Yes.
And my kids are just so used to like all of my friends and like knowing all of them.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. I just didn't feel like I could put that into my schedule because of the fact that dad was gone a lot. So I was like, I can't do that too, because I can't.
Well, and I feel like one reason I feel like I can is because Chris is home and able and, you know, is like
absolutely
there.
Absolutely. And I had a Bonka group that I did, you know,
I remember that.
And I had Bible studies that I went to, and I would do those, but then dad was at home.
Yeah.
Dad would be he would be taking care of you.
Babysitting.
Yeah.
It's very true. I mean, he would even say that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway.
It's just interesting how I feel like at times I almost want to go back to like, nope, like I'm going to like keep our sacred time, like with my nuclear family, you know, or like I don't feel like I have to say yes.
Yes.
I want us to just like stay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like things go around in a circle, like generationally, like, like the way that we were raised. I feel like some of those tendencies and things are coming back, and we're starting to raise our kids those same ways instead of like going to what society has to say.
Right.
So, okay, is there a friend from the past that you still think about often?
Yes, I do. I have, you know, my very best friend growing up, she's no longer with us, but I think of her all the time because we spent so much time together in high school. So I think of her all the time. And I had another really close friend that I'm still friends with from high school. And I ran with her in Canada, Karen.
Karen.
Karen Hummel.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was like, wait, the other Karen.
And the other one was Karen too. Yes. And then, so those are pretty much my 2 friends. And then I still have friends, you know, when I came to Georgia, and I had girls friends on the team that I ran with.
Yeah.
And Joanne and I are still very close. Joanne was on the team with us, and Lori, Aunt Lori, who's, you know, your wedding. Well,
I was in her wedding.
Yeah.
I was her flower girl.
That's right. And she was at your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came. And so I stay in contact with her and Beth, you know, Beth.
Yeah.
So there's a few that, So,
well, and it's funny because, I mean, obviously Shay and I are very close now because we live next door to each other.
oh
But
yeah.
there was like times, even after college, where I was in Atlanta, she was in Alabama, she was here,
Mhm.
that like I wouldn't talk to her for a while
Yeah.
just because of like work or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's like as soon as you pick back up the phone, it's just like nothing ever stopped. Like
Yeah,
you just pick the conversation back up.
absolutely.
And that's like such
Absolutely.
a great sign of like a true friend. Like
I
if
think
just
so
nothing
too.
really has
Mhm.
to stop. Okay, so I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
You and dad still go out on dates all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
I feel like at least once a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun, and we'll get dressed up, and
Yeah, but you
we'll
guys
just
also go out with like your like supper clubs.
yeah.
They
Yep.
had this group
Yep.
called TNT, the
Tuesday night.
Tuesday Night Tasters.
Mhm.
And it was 6 of them,
Mhm.
and they would go around Athens and try all these like, every restaurant,
Right.
and I don't know, y'all have, like, a way of picking who
Yes.
gets to pick, and they would
Yep.
try new restaurants,
Mhm.
repeat restaurants.
Yep.
I mean, that went on for
It's still
years.
going on.
Right,
We're still
yeah.
doing it, and, wonderful, great friends of ours, Jim and Karen Moncrief, and then,
Yeah,
Ben and Julie
yeah,
Patrick, who were our neighbors at the lake.
yeah,
So we have done this for almost
like,
30 years, like
ever.
25, 30
Yeah,
years.
it's so
And
crazy.
yeah, and I mean, we do it now. It's probably it's cut back a bit to maybe twice a month.
Yeah,
But we would be every Tuesday night,
yep,
and we would take turns on who chose to go where. So
yeah,
one of us would do it one week, the next week somebody else, and then the next week, and then we just rotate, and we just keep doing that and doing it and doing it.
so
So
fun.
yeah, it was fun, and we're still very close with them. We go to
Yeah,
football games together. We do, tailgating together. So
totally.
yeah, they're
I
wonderful.
love that. I
Hmm.
love that you and dad are still together still. It's
Yeah.
just like while we're not there
Hmm.
and are out of the house, but it feels like y'all are just like y'all are each other's like
Hmm.
person, you
Yeah.
know?
I feel like we've always been really close.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed and fortunate because, maybe that's not always, but we put a lot of effort into our relationship. I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I think time spent together is really important.
Totally.
That's where you're gonna learn to be together.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and I think the other thing, it's really important to have things to do together.
Yeah.
Like dad and I have always run together.
Hmm.
We've always
Or like go on walks.
walks. Yeah. And we're doing more walking now than we are running, but, we'd go on walks all the time. Or, even if we're like really frustrated about something, like I'm thinking one way on something and he's thinking the other way on something, then we'll just be like at our wits' end, and we just need to go, okay, we need to just
Go for a walk.
go for a walk. And so, or we'll just like kind of give each other a little bit of space for a bit, but then we'll come back and we'll go like, okay, do you want to go for a walk? And then we'll go for a walk, and it's amazing because, we'll just like talk things out through the walk.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I feel like I read a study where it like talks about like having an argument or like a discussion like while you're on a walk,
Mhm.
you're like together, but you're not forced to like look at the person.
Correct.
So then you're able to just like say kind of maybe what you're feeling a little bit more
Mhm.
because it's not directly like to their
Right.
face. It's almost like you have like a like even field of fighting,
Right.
because it's like I'm just saying this because like I'm going forward and it's not like it feels like maybe a softer delivery because it's not looking them in the eyes.
I agree 100%. And I also think the tone of voice stays the same, because you
Yeah.
know how sometimes you can get mad and your tone of voice might change. But when you're on a walk, it's like you're not gonna raise your voice and be walking
Right.
raising your voice because people driving by, or like you're thinking about that. Like, okay, we've got to kind of, but that's the way you should be talking anyways. Like
Right.
when you love somebody and you're,
Yeah, it's like
I mean, we're
out of
supposed to
love.
do that,
Right.
we're supposed to, but sometimes, when
Yeah.
things are a little crazy, you might want to say a little bit more in a certain
But
tone of voice. But walking is good for that.
I always feel like that is one thing I think back on if y'all were ever like,
Mm-hmm.
Upset or something, and
Mm-hmm.
y'all would go for a walk, and
Mm-hmm.
then y'all would come back and like the problem was to be solved
Mm-hmm.
or like it was
Mm-hmm.
worked out.
Yep.
I always think about that, how that was something y'all always did and still do.
Yeah, I think so. And it was, and the other thing when you guys were little, I remember that, if we were kind of, not on the same page with something, then it was not something we were going to be really talking about in front of you,
Mhm.
as much as we could help to do that. It was like we would be, now's not the time. We
Yeah.
need to talk about this later. Because we just didn't want you guys to see us. We didn't want this picture to think that you guys were painted, that we were, we could never make any mistakes. But I think it was good for us to not carry out and have agreements and disagreements and arguing in front of you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't, not to say it never happened, but
Right.
we thought
I
about that a
remember it
lot.
like being mostly behind closed doors,
Mhm.
which then I feel like it kind of jaded me a little bit because I was like, this is just how relationships are going to be. Like they're just going to be respectful to each other,
Right.
or
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
would be like, okay, my standards are so high.
Yeah. Well, but that's a good thing.
Okay, so moving on to our next section, which is staying active. I know lots of people are always like, oh my gosh, your mom, like, what is she doing to stay active?
Uh-huh.
So let's take it back a little bit. What are some of your favorite ways to stay active when you were raising us?
When I was raising you guys, I had a baby jogger, which was the greatest thing
Yeah.
because and I had a double baby jogger because you guys were 21 months apart. And I was like, I knew that when dad was away, I still needed to get my run in because that was like my thing. I just needed to do it. Yeah, my sanity. And so I would either put you guys in the baby jogger and off we went, or I would call a babysitter. And I called a babysitter and had them come while you were taking a nap. And it might run into a little bit after that, but I would try to do it during that time because again, there was a lot of time that dad wasn't there because of being out of town or, that I felt that I needed to be there too, just because he wasn't.
Right.
And so I would go ahead and do that. I think it's really important to be able to give yourself some time. So, and if that means getting a babysitter, then just get a babysitter. And
Shay does that a lot now. It's like with Shep still being at home.
Yeah.
And she like realized probably like after he turned 1, she was like, I've got to like prioritize.
Yep. Yep.
And so she does that a lot. And but I mean, you ran track and like cross country at Georgia. You have always been a very like active person, runner, so I mean, the fact that you've like continued that, I feel like it's just also like in your blood.
I think it is too. That's where I'm at my happiest. If I'm really, I don't know, if I'm just struggling with something, going out for a walk or just running, I just feel like this is my happy place.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I've done it for so many years that it's just something that's so
part
normal
of you
and part of me. Yeah. So might not be as fast as I used to, but
that's okay. Okay. So now, are there other ways besides like running or walking that you stay active, and how do you keep it fun or sustainable?
Yeah, I have pickleball that I've put in the mix up of everything, and I'm now golf.
Yeah.
So, I just try to balance it throughout the week, and just make sure that I am doing, like on my pickleball days, I might just go for a walk, but it won't be just not that long of a walk. I've started doing more, weightlifting, like weights, a couple of like 3 or 4 days a week. And I've usually just like get that from like different Instagram people that I follow that are my age, and they just have great 20-minute routines that are so easy to just like grab a couple of weights and just do this routine.
Yeah.
And there's so many that you can
You're
follow.
going to need to share some of these accounts with us because
I
I'm sure the
will.
people are going to be like, wait, they're always
Yeah.
like, well, who does your mom follow?
Yeah. I'll give you the people that I follow for like the workout routines because they are really, really good. So I've just kind of been mixing it up.
Yeah.
So
how would you motivate someone to begin an exercise routine in their 50s or 60s if this isn't a common practice for them right now?
I would say walk. Start out walking. Just go out and walk. If you can just go walk for 10 or 15 minutes, just go walk. Get a walk in, and then look up some of these online 20-minute workouts or 10-minute workouts, and just grab a couple of weights. Like just get some weights
you can get them
anywhere.
at like Target, you know, 8
or
pounds
TJ Maxx.
Big TJ, big Maxinista over here.
Right. And so you can just grab 10 pounds or 5 pounds and just start out with something light. Or you can actually even just use your body weight. Like you don't have to start with the weights, just start moving. I think the key is to move and try to move every day. And you'll find, I think, that the more you go out and go for a walk and that you'll just increase it. You know, soon your 15 minutes will become 20 and then 30. And then, just keep adding to it and just realize that it's a really good thing for you to do.
Yeah. Well, I also think like I love listening to audiobooks or podcasts. And so sometimes I'm like, this is a great time to just like, I'm just going to like walk for the duration of this podcast.
Right.
Or whatever, you know? And so then it's like, you feel like you're hearing something, you're doing something, you're walking, like,
and you can even,
too.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even like, while you're walking, like if you want to make it a little bit more active, then while you're walking, just go ahead and maybe after the first 5 minutes or so, just start walking a little faster. So look at your watch and for 5 minutes, walk at a little bit faster pace and then drop back down to just a normal walk. So you can slowly just incorporate stuff like that, just to get in. And I think just getting in a routine, if you can do something like that, start out with 3 days a week and then maybe do 4 days a week. And,
that'll be a good place to start at least. Now we're going to go into keeping a positive mindset. So you've always seemed to be somebody who's very optimistic. How do you maintain that attitude?
I don't know. I think it's because I'm a problem solver. And I think being a teacher too, and in the teaching field, I feel like I always had to, if a child came up and they were distressed or something was going on, it was like, I problem solved. I'm like, okay, how are we going to make this better? What can we do to make you smile again? Or what can we do to, this was a crazy situation that just happened. Okay, well, what would be better, or how could, so I think that being in that field has really helped a lot. But I just try to think of things positively. Things are going to happen in life, good things and bad. And I think that we just kind of have to be prepared for all things. And when something does happen, we can either stay in that, woe is me, oh my goodness, frame of mind, and that's not bad. At times you might have to do that. Yeah. But then, you got to come out of that. You've got to, how can we be happy again? How can we, what can we do to?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think there's just like, you just enjoy living in the like happy version of yourself, like in like happy vibes. Like that's just more exciting,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
it's funny. I feel like I remember having friends spend the night and they would always be like, oh, I just love when your mom comes and like wakes us up in the morning because she's just so, hi, sweetie, how did you sleep? Just so encouraging from the start. And they're like, at my house, it's like, get up, like, just like so aggressive.
Right.
And so it's just always funny. I always think about that. How we're just like, we would just like so gently, like, Good morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Yeah.
And now I think I say that to the girls a
Yeah.
lot too. When they wake up, good morning,
I
sunshine.
know.
They'll come walking down the stairs and
I try to do
yeah.
that with the kids too, where I'm just
Mhm.
like, give
So
them like
happy.
soft, happy start to the day. It's
Absolutely.
just like happiness.
Absolutely.
It just
Because
feels
days
like,
can be crazy. They can go to
yeah,
school and their friends might not be nice or whatever, but they know that when they wake up in the morning, mommy's going to be just
yeah,
happy. Or when they see you at the end of the day, the
yeah.
first time you see your kids at the end of the
Mom.
day. Yeah.
So sweet. It's
Yes,
very
it's
true.
so true. Yeah.
What were some of your mental or emotional challenges when you were my age?
I think just trying to keep everything together was really, and it wasn't a struggle. I grew up in, like I said, both my parents were working and, so we were on a pretty tight schedule. And I was,
Mhm.
I think when you're in school too, you're just on a tight schedule because
Yeah.
you have to be there.
Right.
You have to like blah, blah, blah. So I think just trying to keep things going, um, no matter what, like if even by myself, I feel like when dad was away and I was by myself, I really had an appreciation for single parents because
Yeah.
I really could understand, this is tough. Like you got to
Yeah.
do everything on your own. And it's like, whoo. So I think just trying to keep it together sometimes was hard, but
Right.
yeah, but it was, it was something you just kind of had to keep doing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who or what did you lean on when life feels overwhelming?
I go completely to God. I just stop and pray, and I feel like I carry on conversations with
Yeah.
God, and I think that's important too. I just, and so I'll go to him first, and I just pray for peace and just
Yeah.
a calmness to, okay, I know you're with me, and I know that we can get through this, and
Yeah.
and I've just seen him come through
Totally.
so many times in my life that there's not a doubt in my mind that that's the first place I should go to. So
Yeah.
and
Back when like you were my age, I mean, I don't think I really ever recognized this if you did, but I feel like so many people, myself included, nowadays like feel like so much more anxious
Mhm.
and have anxiety. Did you like feel that back like in your 30s?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and I remember that, and I think a lot of that was usually when I put too many things on my plate, and
That's about right.
yeah. And so you kind of live and learn. And I've, kind of learned over the years. Now I don't do that at all. But,
Yeah.
I don't have you guys at home anymore or anything. And things are just a little bit different. But I just don't go there,
Right.
But if I did it while you guys were young, it might have been okay. Someone would say, oh, can you do this? Sure. Whatever. And it's like, I had to learn, to just say no.
Yeah.
And it was always, you put too many things and you got all anxious when you had too much going on. And then what I found was I would take that back home, and that's
Right.
not the person I want to be at home.
Right.
So I had to.
And then you're like mad at your kids because they're
Right.
just like being kids, but you're
Right.
like overstimulated and like so anxious.
from something else that it just is. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I think just not putting too much on your plate. And I learned that it was okay to say no.
Yeah.
Or what instead of having to give somebody an answer right then, I would just say, let me think about it. Let me talk to my husband, or let me look at my calendar, and I'll get back to you. And that way it gave me time to be away from that person and just really figure out whether or not I could do something.
Right. Yeah, that's smart. Like not giving an immediate
Yeah,
answer.
you don't have to. You don't have to. At first I thought I had to.
Right.
Then I learned, I don't really have to do that.
Right.
And it was kind of freeing. So
no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? I mean, you kind of mentioned this, like how you do your Bible study in the mornings.
Mhm.
Do you have like specific books you like to do, or like what is kind of like your go-to devotional or Bible study time?
Well, right now I have the Bible app,
Hmm.
um, and I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
I did, read the Bible in a year last
Yeah.
year, and then this year.
Tara Cobble.
Yes, I know, I love her. And then this year I did something. I'm just doing the New Testament.
Mm, yeah.
So we're diving deep into that. And so I'm doing that this year, but then there's so many things in that app that can just like you can go into a different plan for like how you're feeling. So you're going through, let's say you're going through a time of like, you know, sorrow, like you're going through some really bad times. Then, there's like plans for that. So you can just
Yeah.
click on sorrow and go to,
Wow.
and it has a list of plans that are maybe like 5-day plans, 6-day plans, 7-day plans, but it's the specific time that you're going through. And it's
Yeah.
so helpful. So along with my like plan, my yearly one
Hmm.
that I'm in, I usually like
Just like pick a plan.
I'll pop into, there's some on marriage, there's some on children, there's some on there's so many of them. And so it's really, really cool. And I just love it. It's the second year I've been doing it and it's just been great. And then I have 2 little devotion books.
Yeah.
That little pink one that I love that
Oh,
one.
she was always like taking pictures and being like, just read this morning.
Yeah.
I love you, sweetie.
Yeah.
And I'll like read it or
Yes.
whatever, but it's
Yeah.
always so sweet.
Well, and it's so applicable to life. Like
Yeah.
I swear I can get into this thing and it'll just be, I'm like, how did they know? Like, and I'm just like, okay, God, but
So true. I
it's
interviewed
crazy.
Clear Reeves from
Mhm.
Clearly Stated,
Yes.
and I was like talking to her one time and I was like, I just like don't understand. So many times, like
Mm.
whatever message you put up that morning is like, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you like pre-do these? And she's like, no, like
Yeah.
I write out the day, like those happen in the morning.
Hmm.
Like the Lord tells me what to put out, and then like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
just like,
amazing.
it's
That's
so fascinating.
a wonderful calling.
Yeah.
And what a privilege for her. That's awesome.
Well, that's
Well, it's
really,
so helpful for
yeah.
so many
Oh
people.
my
I mean,
goodness.
yeah,
Totally.
it really
Well, and
is.
it's so interesting about the Bible app because how many times like are you or for me, I know sometimes I'll just be like, gosh, I like really need to just like sit down with my Bible and like open it up. I'm like struggling with XYZ. But then I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like the James,
Yeah.
it's like I don't exactly know where to go, but
Hmm.
I just know I need to be like in the
Yep.
Bible. So having something where you can go to like a specific
Hmm.
theme or this is what I'm
Plan.
feeling, and then a
Absolutely.
guide will help. But it's like
Yep.
at your fingers. Like
It's
everybody could get the Bible app.
everybody can. And
Yeah.
it's really been life-changing for me.
I
So,
have to check that out.
yeah, I've loved it. And it does have like the Bible, of course. So like the little things at the bottom, you
Yeah.
can click just on Bible.
Right. And just like read
Right.
straight up the Bible.
Because I'll get the little pink devotion that
Yeah.
I do. I do that daily, but then there's scripture at the bottom,
Yeah.
and it's just the scripture. So I have to. I
Then
go
go
into the
read
Bible
it.
app, I read it, and then
Yeah.
So it puts me into the Word as well. That little devotional that I have.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I have a few like kind of rapid fire questions, and some of
okay.
these like we can answer together. What is a one word that you would use to describe each other? So I guess like both of us.
Calm to you. Like I think
Oh,
of you as calm. You calm me.
wow.
Yeah, you really do. You
That's
give me a
nice.
peace. Yeah, a sense of calm.
Huh. I don't really feel calm in my head a lot of
I
the time.
know, which is really great because I'll look at you sometimes and I'm just like, oh, she's still calm.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like the first word that came to my mind is caring.
Mhm.
Like you're just very like, you can always tell if like, just with anybody, you're always like, okay, like what's going on? Like
Yeah.
you
What
can
do
like
you need?
get to like the
Yeah.
heart of the,
Hmm.
but I think you're an Enneagram too.
Okay. I don't know what Enneagram I am. I really
You
need
need
to
to
read the
take it.
Enneagram test. I
I
know.
think you're a 2 because you're like a fixer and a helper, and like most teachers are.
Right.
But
Yeah.
anyway, some of those just like you're just caring.
Yeah.
It's my first word for you. Okay, a go-to comfort meal from your childhood.
My mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Friday nights were spaghetti night, and it was
I feel like
amazing.
I
She made the
remember
best spaghetti
grandma's
sauce.
spaghetti recipe.
Yeah.
I also feel like spaghetti pie was like a
Spaghetti pie was
go-to meal.
for
Yeah.
you, for sure. Yeah.
That was it's
Yeah.
funny, actually, we learned over Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
we thought like the spaghetti pie recipe was from this one person that
Yeah.
they've been like accrediting the
Yes.
spaghetti pie
To Lori
recipe.
Friedland, one of the girls on Dad's
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
And for like 20 or 30 years, because
She's gotten it. Yeah.
and my parents told her, "Oh, like we've been making your spaghetti pie recipe." And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
So we did it. Didn't we do it over Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And then we FaceTimed Lori and said,
"Oh yeah, we're
having
making
your spaghetti pie. And she goes, what?
Yeah.
And it was her sister's recipe. But while she was on our team, while she was on Dad's team, we all had dinner at our house, and I guess her sister gave
like her the recipe
and said this. So then Lori brought it and was like, "This is the recipe for spaghetti pie, and this is."
And then
pie.
we've been
and then we
making
just
it
were
as like a family forever.
Yeah. So she got it. So it was really funny. We had a good laugh over that.
She's like, "I think you sent this to the wrong person."
Yeah.
And we were like, "No, like,
we have been giving you credit for
That is funny.
It was great.
Who's more of a morning person, you or me? I would probably say you still.
I think I am.
Yeah, but like now can like sleep in.
Well, yeah. So now, all the books that I love to read are all on health, and because I've like really dive into that, I know the importance of sleep. So I am like, when I go to bed at night, depending on the time it is, I'm like, okay, so it's 10 o'clock. So now I guess 8 hours later, I got to get my 8 hours of sleep so I can get up anytime after 6. But if we don't go to bed till midnight, let's say we've gone out or something.
Out on the town.
All right. No, or, just that we had
can't
friends
get up
over.
till 8.
Right. Then I can't get, no, then I don't even, I won't.
I know there's definitely times where I'm like, hey, the kids want to FaceTime, like, or I'll just be calling.
Yeah.
And you're like,
just waking up.
Yeah. I'm like, must be nice.
Well, yeah. And it wasn't always that way. So now that's the luxury of being retired.
Being on the other side.
It is kind of nice, but I still get up in the morning and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
I feel like I am more a morning person than I am a night person.
100%. I think you are too.
But I could also sleep more. Like I have, like I'm always like 6 or 6:30. Like let's just like, how crazy are we feeling this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's mostly like, if I don't have to wash my hair, okay, like then
then I can give a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. It'll change, I think.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of.
It has, because I used to get up super early, and then I feel like when I had kids, I could sleep a little bit more, and I was just tired.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's a habit that we've picked up from each other over the years?
Oh man.
Chris would probably, this is like
I'm good.
One of like Chris's like pet peeves about me is I'll start a sentence and then I will just stop in the middle of the sentence because I'm like doing something else.
Yeah.
And he's like,
can you finish it?
What is the rest of what was the question? And I'm like, oh yeah. And I think you do that.
I do. I definitely do that. The other thing that I think we do and this is kind of funny, but I have always like gritted my teeth when I'm doing something and hard and stuff. And I've done that since I was a kid. And then you do it. And now I've noticed Collins kind of does it too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy.
Like opening a can or something where it's like you're exerting like a lot of energy. That's funny.
So yeah, I just kind of laugh.
Okay, this one I guess is more directed to me, but what's one piece of advice that stuck with you from your mom? Although I guess you could answer it because you also had a mom at one point. So what's one piece of advice that stuck with you from your mom?
Goodness. Again, the thing that I always felt around her was a sense of calm as well. I mean, she just was, no matter what, anything was going on, she was just never frazzled by it. Like it just, it was really a
Maybe
wonderful
that's where
thing.
I get it from.
I mean, I think you might.
Grandma.
Yeah. Yep. So,
what's a moment you've shared that always makes you both laugh?
oh, I know. Well, I think we laugh about things that have gone on after college. That's what I tend to laugh about when I think
Like what?
The newspaper guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's not, I was so traumatized.
You were traumatized, but I've never laughed so hard about something that had happened that you were so traumatized on. And also the squirrels, all your squirrel situations when those were going on. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The squirrels just love me. I mean,
and the spider.
Yeah.
When we were camping, stuff like that.
I feel like it's more stuff we can look back on.
Oh, me too.
That it's like, oh my goodness. Or do you remember I used to do this thing coming down the hill at the lake and it would be like, buckle your seatbelt. We're going for a ride. And I have no idea where that came from, but like we would do that and like we would just die laughing because I don't know why. Like it was.
Well, we used to do that when you were little and we were in the car. I would say, buckle your seatbelt, buckle your seatbelt.
But it was like you say it with like this funny voice.
Yeah. Buckle your seatbelt. We're going for a ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are some like that. Just being at the lake and like doing
different things. Yeah.
I do feel like middle schoolers today, like, don't understand the awkwardness of just like figuring things out. And we didn't have cell phones or the internet. And so like you just like made up games. And if it was dumb, like it just didn't matter. But it was like you were trying to make people laugh and like nobody, I don't know. That's just not how it is today.
I know.
So there's so many times where it was like we were just doing dumb stuff to like be entertained.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny.
I think games and puzzles and things like that you can do with your kids now are people
like teaching them.
Yeah.
I know.
To just do something else but the phone, because but it's part of our lives. It's part of everybody's life. So they'll always have that, but just the ability to be able to put it down.
So important.
Yeah.
Okay, these are a little bit more like fast-paced questions.
Okay.
Do you prefer wearing flats or heels?
Platforms.
Sorry. I agree. I'm like, she's going to say platform.
Yep.
I feel like a heel.
Okay.
But
you like a heel?
I wear heels just more.
Yeah, heels are not, they weren't very comfortable the other night when
you're like mad you didn't have a Band-Aid.
Right. I was like, what did I say to you? I said, I wish I would have worn platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
I was like, why didn't I know? If we were walking this far, I would have. Yeah.
Didn't know how much we were walking.
Right.
Neutral colors or bold colors?
Neutral.
Same.
I've grown to that though.
Yeah.
Because I think I used to be a little bit more into the bold stuff. I kind of like the bold kind of things.
Yeah.
But I'm really loving neutrals. That's probably because of you.
Yeah. Probably. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Coffee all the way.
I mean, I just can't even like imagine.
No, life without it.
And you are the coffee queen. Like you're who got me so into it.
I know. Well, and you can cut back on, I found a really good decaf coffee that's good too. Because I like to have it in the afternoons too. Like this afternoon when I go home, because it's rainy and stuff, I'll probably just like,
I know. I want coffee on the way home.
Yeah. But if I have decaf, the reason why I say decaf is because when you get my age, then any caffeine after 12 o'clock noon just keeps me up. I just cannot. It's just crazy. So
yeah, that is wild.
Yeah, it is. So that's why I found a really good decaf. Decaf's usually really bland, but I found one that's really strong.
Is that one like, what is it called?
Well, I don't know the name of it, but it comes in that brown K-cup.
Yeah, but it's like the net. It's not like a plastic K-cup, right?
The one that I'm talking about is a dark brown.
Oh.
Okay, but I do have the other one that I like has the little net.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just
Like
biodegradable. But
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, rather than having the plastic. So if I could find a good decaf in that one,
Yeah.
like with
You
the,
would do that.
yeah, I would do that too. Just because all the plastic, there's so many plastic pieces, but
Yeah.
do what you can.
This is very true. Okay, one word to describe your personal style.
I don't know. I want to say classic, but not. I think that's what I really like, to be classic and simple, but I don't know if I'm that. I don't know.
I feel like you're more, you're not like quite eclectic, but you're not like I think of classic as like button downs and like
oh no,
Nantucket.
Yeah, I might not be that. Yeah.
Like you still like you're kind of like you're okay to try trends, but
Absolutely.
you're like,
but I do kind of have my own.
It's very like you like there's things that you put on that I'm like, where did you even find that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it like works on you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's mostly from TJ Maxx.
Now I've started mixing, and you do this, but like patterns.
Yeah.
And as long as they're the same color, you can have different patterns.
Some tones.
Yeah. So
it's a very fun
that's been
way
kind
to
of fun.
live. Okay. When you look back at your life so far, what moments feel the most meaningful?
I think the most meaningful was finding a husband, finding your dad. That was the most meaningful. And then having you guys and just raising a family. That was most meaningful to me, was that, like, just being able to experience that joy and that much love.
Right.
And then when you guys, and this from having kids too now, that, you have your first and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest. And then you find out you're pregnant again. You're like, you kind of scary because you're thinking, how can I love another thing? Like, how can I do this? And then you can. And so just loving and having a family is probably the most meaningful. That was the biggest and the most. And then doing the one thing that I wanted to do since I was younger, and that was be a teacher. So I had that opportunity to do that too. And that was wonderful. So
yeah,
but I'd say family first.
Yeah,
for sure.
What does a fulfilled life mean to you?
I think a fulfilled life is being able to spend time with family, do the things that Dad and I want to do together, being able to enjoy the things that we like to do separately as well. Like, and then just making sure that, again, family's first.
Yeah.
And spending time with you guys and the grandkids and,
Yeah.
So.
Is there something that you wish that you'd embraced earlier in life?
I think that, I think I wish that I would have been able to slow down and be a little, I don't know. I felt like our life was just so fast paced. And I'm sure everybody does that's in that time of life when they're going a million miles an hour. But I wish that I would have, if I could go back to those days, I wish that I would have realized that I could just relax and not be so uptight about, doing this way or getting this done, or like, I just wish I would have been able to, I don't know, I maybe handle things differently, or just, just maybe giving myself a little bit more grace, because I think you can get really hard on yourself too.
Yeah, that's true.
If things don't fall in place, or if you're, you put a lot of guilt on yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this, or maybe I need to be doing this. And
yeah.
So
I guess this kind of goes along with that, but if you could write a note to your 35-year-old self, what would it say?
Slow down. Slow down and enjoy every moment. Like, I think enjoy every moment that you have with your kids is that, because it's so quick. It's so fast. And I'm thankful that we get that opportunity to enjoy the grandkids now. And that's what I think any grandparent would probably say is, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest. This is why they say grandparenting is like the greatest, because we're not like going a million miles an hour. We're not, so
you can like sit and do the things and like not.
Yeah. So if I could say to like you or like to Jared or whatever, when everything seems busy and everything like that, even taking a minute or 2 minutes to sit on the ground and just say, give a hug, or like just say, I just love you so much, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because at the time you're going a million miles an hour, you're in your head going, okay, I got to get this done and this, and then dinner, and then we have to be at the sports place at this time, and we have to do this and that and everything.
I know.
It's just those little minutes, and it doesn't have to take a long time, like just a minute or 2.
Yeah.
Because I think for kids, that probably would really mean a lot. For you guys, and I don't know if you remember like the times when things were crazy and we're all over the place, how great would it have been to just like stop for a minute, everybody sit on the ground, chill, whatever, like 2 minutes, like just chill, laugh.
I mean,
we
maybe
probably would have laughed or
would've...
whatever. You know what I mean? Like I look back and I go, oh my gosh, what could we have done? And it really wouldn't have taken that much.
I think if you would have done that, I probably would have been like
laughing.
A yoga instructor.
Are you okay?
And like somewhere, like I would be like too calm.
Yeah. Right.
That's so funny.
So anyways,
well, thank you for coming on the podcast and for sharing some of your expertise with us.
Wow, you're so welcome.
I feel like we need to go like do another one and just dive more into like all your thoughts on like supplements and healthy eating and all of that, because we don't have time today, but that's like a whole other excellent topic that we could just like, you're like incredibly knowledgeable on.
Well, I think there's a lot of information that is on like Instagram and stuff. And there's so many things. And the only thing I really do is I think that's really important, because there are so many things on, is to really kind of dig deep.
Yeah.
You can go down rabbit holes a lot, but to dig deep and don't think that just because you read it on Instagram, that's the truth, like
totally.
Like
do your own research.
Doing your own research, look it up, and then make your decisions based on that. So
we'll have to get you back in the studio and we can talk about that next time.
Love to. Thank you.
I am so thankful for you, and I am just so glad that you shared all this wisdom and knowledge and fun conversation with us. For those of you guys who follow along on Instagram, we will share some of my mom's favorite things and some items that she mentioned in this episode. If there's something from this episode that you have questions about, please feel free to email or direct message us, but we'll try to get some of your favorite things out for the people and listeners and followers to get access to.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
All right, friends. Until next time.